Look at those like pops.
Listen, I'm bringing all that back home with me. That's more candy than I've ever seen in my entire life. Well, good morning, folks. Becky and I checked into Christchurch guest house here in the old city of Jerusalem last night, about 11 o'clock. We had a full day yesterday between Tel Aviv congregation, morning service in Tel Aviv, and then we had dinner in Galilee last night. It's about a 2-hour drive, and then from there we drove home. So really it was a full day, but now we are in the old city. Today's really kind of an exciting day for Becky and I because we are heading to the Mount of Olives. We're doing the Garden of Gethsemane. We're doing Pilate's house, the high priest's house, and then towards the early afternoon we're going to be in the Garden Tomb. And then some of you have sent me a prayer requests, and I'll be praying for those prayer requests right there in the Garden Tomb, where the impossible was made possible. Folks, here we are, right at the Mount of Olives, Becky and I. You can see a beautiful shot of the old city of Jerusalem, and so many different things happened here at the Mount of Olives. One of them being that famous story of the woman who poured her oil on Jesus. And it was such an act of worship, literally gave everything that she had to worship him. And that happened right in this very area here. It was also the area where Lazarus was raised from the dead. And I mean, all throughout the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, all the Mount of Olives is mentioned. And right now, we're just walking down the Palm Sunday Road. This road leads to the Garden of Gethsemane. So we've just come from the Garden of Gethsemane right over here. That building right there and right down there is just about the place where they reckon Stephen was martyred, taken outside of the old city and martyred, stoned to death. The first martyr after Jesus. But having come from the Garden of Gethsemane, to be in a place really where you know that Jesus was and that he wept, it really puts things in perspectives. And I mean, folks, you need to come to Israel. You need to see the old city. You need to go to the Garden of Gethsemane. And it just puts our entire faith in perspective, our entire relationship in perspective, because that's where Jesus counted the cost in you and in me. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen and Becky here. This is our last day in Israel. We're just here in the old city of Jerusalem. Folks, I got to be honest with you. I've really been, this last 24 hours has really been a challenge for me. Right about the time that we were at the Pilate's house yesterday afternoon here in the old city, I don't know what happened, but I felt sick. Not headache or anything, but just chills, and I felt like I was fighting something. Well, folks, I'm not sure what to tell you, but you know, like we had dinner with friends in Tel Aviv last night, and one of the things that I haven't said, you know, in this entire trip is that there is some real talk about doing a cultural exchange, bringing Inuit from Nunavut here to Israel, and then Israel young people up to the Arctic. And the purpose of that really is to show young people in Nunavut, Inuit people, that no matter what the cultural abuse has happened in the past, it is possible to have culture restored. And so we drove to Tel Aviv last night. Before that, actually, there was a very, very, very special moment when Vicar of Baghdad, Canon Andrew White, welcomed us into his room. He stays right here in the old city of Jerusalem, and he gave us some gifts. He prayed over that little baby in there, and if I'm being completely honest, he calls me his Eskimo friend. And I know that's not entirely culturally appropriate, but Canon Andrew White is the only person who I feel is 100% allowed to call me an Eskimo. And so my dear wife Becky has been taking care of me all day. She brought me breakfast even when I was too sore to eat breakfast. I ate it and I felt replenished. We both kind of slept. I was awakened by around noon, a very loud call to prayer about noon our time, and I mean, his voice was fine, I guess. I had no idea what he was saying. I hope he was praying for me, but I don't know. So folks, Damascus Gate is directly behind us now. We're walking just a couple hundred yards down this road here to the Garden Tomb. Now there's two major sites that they feel that Jesus was crucified on. One is inside the old city called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and then this one here, just down the road a bit, is the Garden Tomb. And you can make up your mind as to what you think it is. The point is that it was right here, within a few hundred yards in any direction, is exactly where it happened. And that was a place that our redemption comes from. So, you know, as awful as I was feeling earlier, not to come here on this trip was just silly.